Welcome back to the Let's Glow Show. It's Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother. I help people get fly, make friends, and save the world through community. And here on the Let's Glow Show, we interview creative entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing. Today, we have the owner of GVST Wellness, Pam. Welcome to the show. Woo-woo. Yay. And forgive me, I meant to ask you how to pronounce your last name before we got
Ferrara.
Pam Ferrara.
Yeah.
Like, did you get a lot of name things growing up? Like Ferrari?
So that's my married last name. My maiden name is Pam Bodis. So I felt like my married name was like Pam Bodis, you know. And then I married my husband, and I was always like, I'm never changing my last name. And my husband is this like big 6'6" Taurus, like Italian man, and he was like, I won't marry a woman who doesn't change their last name. And I was like, okay.
Whatever you said.
Yeah. He's really handsome.
So my 6'4" handsome husband, who's Capricorn, calls me Amanda Sweet, like all the time. Like, like when he's in the bathroom and he needs toilet paper, he's like, Amanda Sweet. Like, and then so when we got married, we had the conversation. I was like, do we do that? His last name is Jones. And he was like, no. He's like, you're Amanda Sweet. Like, don't change your last name plus paperwork.
Yeah. But I got married like before I did any of this stuff. So someone told me once, and they were like, Pam Ferrara is just like such a sweet, like professional sounding name. And I'm like, is it? I don't know. I feel like it's, I don't know. I feel like it's more boring than Pam Bodis. Like people used to be like, hey, Bodis, you know. So
I mean, it feels very like stage name-y, like Pam Ferrara. Feels like stage name.
And then like when you, oh my God. And then when you get married, then you have to like learn a new signature. I'm like, I had like my signature down, and now I have to like
practicing my signature since like elementary school. Well, middle school. Since we got the planners. Like, did you have planners with the scratch?
Yeah.
Like, literally every other page is like full of my name. It's just me writing.
Is Sweet your real last name?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Dad's side of the family. My dad's dad's side of the family, but yeah. So I was just like, why would I change it? This is the name. We've been practicing this. We've been working on this.
So I was in plays in high school. Like I was Cinderella and stuff like that. So I practiced my like autograph. And when I was young, I used to want to be an actress. And so I'd like practice my autograph. And yeah, so Pam Bodis I had down, right? And so now Pam Ferrara, I write Pam the same way, and I do F and then just go line. And it's just like, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your acting life. We'll talk about what you're doing now. I'm curious because I was also a theater girly for very, very many years. And I started late.
Oh, okay. When did you start?
Well, I always wanted to do theater, like in like elementary, middle, and high school, but I ended up going the sports route. So I was a cheerleader and played softball. So it was like softball season and cheerleading season. Well, both cheerleading seasons were like always like playtime. So I did choir instead, but even still, I did orchestra. But I was like, I want to be in the play. So my senior year, I quit cheerleading, and then I did West Side Story. And then when I went to college, I didn't do any sports, and I did all theater like the whole time.
Oh, okay. So I feel similar because I felt like I was like a hybrid where I loved theater and like I just wanted to be an actress, but I played all sports. So in high school, like freshman and sophomore year, I played sports year round. I played tennis, volleyball, softball. But then I never made it into a high school play. I never like made a part. But we had actually that's like the sweater I have. We had a city like troupe called the East Point Players. I grew up in East Point. And so they did city productions. And so I would always audition for like the kids' plays. So like one year I was in Emperor's New Clothes. And then I might have been in something before that. And then anyway, then the next year I was Cinderella. And I auditioned and I made it. And it is really hard to play like such a sweet character because you can never be funny. You can never be snarky. Like I always had to be like above board and like, hello, like,
royal.
Oh, no, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very royal, dainty.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I
that's
like
really
stage. Yeah, I like stage acting, and I always like the loud voices. And we went and saw a play in St. Clair Shores, and they had all mics and stuff. And I was like not used to that because yeah, we had to like do the stage voice and
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I love stage plays, and it's a big part of my personal journey because I was doing like theater when I was in college, and at the time I
Mhm.
was in really really abusive relationship, and for me it was kind of
Mm.
like escapism. So I was like doing my theater. I was also in a sorority, and I like started a nonprofit like crew, and I was like overloaded on classes because like the last thing I wanted to do was go back to the dorm rooms. But then
Oh,
after we broke up, like a couple years later, I dropped out of school for like the third time, and we finally broke up. And I remember being like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I want to do for fun? Like, I don't even know what I like. Even though I had been like on this journey of like figuring it out, even though I was like in an abusive relationship. But the
yeah,
first thing I
yeah.
did was take an acting class. I took a class at the
Mm.
Actors Loft right on Main Street in Royal Oak. That was like the first thing I did. It was like before I went back to work,
Mhm.
before I started, because I was like, I just need to like, and it was therapy for me. I remember
Yeah.
like walking in there and being like, this is who I am. Introducing myself and like faking it, you know. But I'm like, I'm in an
Mhm.
acting. I don't know any of these people. Like, who cares? And it was
Yeah.
the not persona, but like the Amanda Sweet that I feel like I am now,
Mhm.
but I wanted to be then. And then
Yes.
all of the practices that we were doing, like all this like really intimate like feeling and emotion work, I was like, it felt very therapeutic. And I was
Yeah.
like, this like saved my life, you know? So
Mhm.
acting, theater, like all that stuff for me is like just such a soft spot for it. So, and
Yes.
like a theater nerd or theater geek or
Mhm.
actor, you know, I don't know. I don't even know why that's a thing because all the famous people that are actors are all theater nerds. Just put it that way.
Oh my
Like all
gosh.
the
My oldest the other day, we were driving home from school. So I have a 4, 6, and 8-year-old. So the 8-year-old was like, "What is a nerd?" And I was like, "Well, it's not like a mean term. It's just kind of uh like classification." I was like, "A nerd could be someone who likes science or who likes comic books or who likes superheroes." And I'm like, "But it's not like a bad thing." And then I go, another one like that would be like a jock, that's someone who plays sports. And then my 6-year-old, who's like the soccer player, was like, "I'm a jock." She's a girl.
yeah.
It's a girl. And I like love that it made me laugh. But
She's like,
where did you go to college?
I went to Lawrence Tech in Southfield, not
Oh,
known
okay.
for theater at all, but there was a
Yeah.
theater like club and it
Yeah.
was so good. It was so good for me. And yeah, like all that stuff, like those titles, I don't know. I just feel
Mhm.
like a nerd is somebody that's passionate about a specific topic,
Yeah. I
you
feel like it's
know?
just like a quick way to I like put someone in a category, but it's not, it's like a loose category. Hold on, I have a yelling
Right.
child.
Yeah.
James, James.
I love it.
Okay. um,
Who's James? How old is James?
4.
Oh.
Okay, do something else then. He's my winiest.
He's taking his
Someone,
time. Okay,
he's
this
my
is a
only
good
boy. Okay.
I'm curious. So like we talked about like the past version of ourselves, but
Yeah.
I want to know and tell everybody like who you are now and what you're doing.
Ooh, oh yeah. So, hi, I'm Pam. I am a mother of 3, and then I was a stay-at-home mom during the pandemic.
A little bit, but it's fine. It's the reality.
Yeah. James, do you need me to help you? Do you need help? Remember we talked? I tried to prep him like, if you need help, you can come ask me. I'd rather you do that than mine. I tried to be like, here's your tablet. Please be cool. And now he's whining about his tablet. So anyway, during the pandemic, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just wanted to get back to my spirituality and my don't know, I just found myself having friends who like weren't like girls, like they weren't for girls. They were like kind of mean girls. And I don't know. I just was like, I need to do better. Like in every area, I think that I could do better, you know? And
Yeah.
so I was like, I want to start a once a month group for women where we can get together and do yoga, meditate, and like share and have it be like a real safe space. So April 2021, I had my first tribe meeting, is what we call them. So GVST stands for Good Vibes Sister Tribe. And that's what it originally was. And so, James, come here, please.
This is the reality of mamahood.
I know. Next year, he'll be in school full time.
Oh.
Eileen, come here, please.
You're doing great.
What did we talk about before? Remember we said we're not going to whine, and if you need help, I don't know how.
No.
Play a different game. Look at it.
Hi, James.
Here, first off, let's talk. Can you play a different game, please? We can hear you. Okay. You want to watch a movie? Go get the iPad, and then you can watch Netflix. Yeah, you can. If you're upset about something, can you use words though? Okay, and walked away. Okay, sorry about that.
You're so sweet. So
I feel like this is. Oh my gosh, we went to our neighbors across the street, down a few houses. Is a little girl who's in the same grade as my oldest, and then next to her is another one who's like a year younger. So my kids always want to go over there, but our street, it's not like it's a busy street, but it's like a busier side street.
Yeah.
And so I trust my oldest to like look, but like obviously not the other two. And so I went over there to go get them all for dinner, and he ran back across the street. He didn't tell any of us, and we didn't know where he was. So I didn't even know he went home. So we were like looking around their backyard for him. And like, I seemed very nonchalant at the time because I mean, like, I know he's okay. Like, obviously nothing happened. But like, yeah, when we got home, we had a big talk about crossing the street at 4 years old and how that is not okay. So,
oh man.
He's like, oh, what they say about like birth order is so true. He just is the youngest, and he's just like, what are you? What are you? Do you have any siblings?
There's 4 of us. I'm the second. The second in order, first daughter.
Yeah.
2 boys, 2 girls. We're all 2 years apart. My sister did something very similar. Both my sister and my younger brother. My sister, we had a park right near our house. Yeah. And we would walk there all the time. And she walked there without any of us knowing. And we were like looking for her for like all the kids in the neighborhood were on the bikes, like screaming, Rachel.
Was she the third kid or the fourth kid?
She's the baby.
That's how they are. The babies are just like, whatever, you know, like he's like that. He would wander away. And I don't think he'd be like doing anything bad, but he would do that. He would wander away. Yeah.
Curious, wandering.
He's just like, whatever.
My younger brother was lost for 3 hours. His name was Isaac. 3 hours. We were doing the same thing because my sister did it first. Yeah. We were looking for 3 hours. He was literally asleep in the basement in a dollhouse, like inside of a dollhouse. Like,
oh my God, yeah. Sounds right. I feel like, oh my God, yeah, children. So, and he also is like, because he's the youngest and we do older things, like I would try to take him to like the library, and they're like, the wheels on the bus. And he's like, this is boring. He's like, Pokemon, you know, like he's just like they're babies, but it's like they hang with the older kids. So they're just.
Sure. Yeah. They're more mature than the average 4-year-old because they've got older. Yes. That's so funny.
All right. Well, anyway, before all the good stuff. So I started GVST, April 2021. And so this once a month women's like meetup then became twice a month. And then I would network and meet this person who'd want to do this workshop. And then like, it just kind of was like a ball, you know, like it just grew and grew and grew. And now I have like a full-time business. I never thought I'd be a business owner, but I love it. Like I'm incredibly fulfilled. I didn't realize how much I like a challenge. Excuse me. And I feel like, I don't know, man, like give me something and I will figure it out, you know? Or like, how am I going to make this successful? And I'm going to like work my ass off and figure it out. But balancing a business and family and a husband is extremely difficult and has not always been the easiest at all. I think the kids really enjoy everything that we do here, like in coming up here, and mom has like a business and we get to go up there and play and like whatever. But marriage wise, it's been like, that's been hard because, you know, our life plan was always just like, you know, work a 9 to 5 and do stuff on the weekends and like whatever. And that's not right or wrong. That just was, you know. So I felt like during the pandemic, I jumped like train tracks or like realities or universe, you know, whatever you want to say. And yeah, like I never ever thought I'd own a business. And so, but yeah, I love it. And like my husband can see that I love it, but, and I'll say to him, like, I know this isn't what you thought our life plan was going to be. And if that's not for you, like all the love, you know, I love you and I know you love me, but like, I get it, you know? So we took the kids.
Like, how do you navigate? Because I feel like I'm not entering that space per se, but like lately I've been a little bit more busy than normal, and like business class and I'm doing work full time, but I'm also doing building the revamp and I'm getting more speaking engagements, and then it's more social media and like follow up and admin, and then I'm like on this like meal prep kick because I like need to, because my body's like crying out to me. So I'm like meal prep, chores, like exercise when we can fit it in. And then, you know, so we're so busy all the time. And so I found myself saying to Labrie, like, are you okay with this? Like, is this, you know, so I'm just kind of curious, since you've been in the swimming pool a bit longer, how you've been navigating all of that.
And it's nice. I feel like my husband was always like my safe space where like if I had a bad day, I can like crawl and be like, man, you know, and we joke that he's like the real stable oak tree. And I'm like the bird that's like over here and over here. And then I land and then I'm like off again. And we joke about it. And I think he's okay with it half the time. But I think sometimes he's like, well, I want to be a bird sometimes, you know? And I'll be like, well, then go be a bird. Like I'm ready. But I don't think he's like a real grounded, like he's worked the same job since he was 20. He's a mason. Like he's like not a huge change person. And I am down for change. Like, not that I'm always easy when I go through it, but I'm fine with
it. Yeah, you're receptive. Yeah.
And I didn't used to be that way. I used to be extremely, I think I still like change. It was like the Sagittarius in me, but I used to be, but also I had a lot of bad anxiety growing up and stuff like that. Where I liked a really regimented day, but I was still like a Sagittarius. So it was like weird that I had these two like conflicting
Taurus.
Right.
Like the linear, the Taurus wants to.
Yes. But marriage. So I mean, sometimes he's like, hey, pay attention to us, you know, get off your laptop. And I'm like, oh, my bad, you know.
Yeah.
Like when we went to the park yesterday, I just like don't really look at my phone other than I'm like taking pictures or if I'm doing whatever. I just like when we're out doing something, I'm like there and I want to be there. You know, it's not like it's a chore, obviously.
Sure.
But at home, I don't want to sit and watch, you know, Gabby's Dollhouse or, you know, whatever, Super Kitties, or I don't know what they're watching.
Yeah.
All the time. So it's like, if they're just watching TV, well, I'm going to pull out my phone and start working. And so, I mean, whether or not that's good or bad, I don't know. I'm getting work done. The kids are fine. I'm in the same room as them. Am I the most present all the time? No. And I know that that's something we've talked about, but I feel like, well, I'm 3 years in now, but I think that I'm better at managing my time. Um, trying to get stuff done while they're in school, or I work I'll be up till midnight or 1. I don't have the best sleep schedule right now, but yeah, they go to bed and then it's like he goes to bed and I'm like, I can work in this, 3 or 4 hours and I'm not paying attention to anybody, like I can
Yeah.
just kind of relax, put whatever show on in the background and get some stuff done. So sometimes I feel bad because I'll be like texting people and it's like 11. I'll be like, answer me tomorrow,
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you
Or
got to get the work in when you can. Like that's,
right.
I mean, I think if we learned anything during the pandemic was that like everybody's got a different cycle and time.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw something recently and it was like, when did we stop responding to texts immediately? And somebody like the Discord around it was like, sometimes it takes people like 3 to 5 business days to respond to a text message. And I resonate with that heavily because like when I'm at work, I'm not on my phone because I'm at work and I'm with people and like I try my best to be present while I'm at work with my team and my members. And then when I'm after work, I'm like doing all my business stuff. And then I finally look at my phone and I'm like, oh shit, she texted me like this morning. And then I'm like, well, it's 11 o'clock. So I'm going to like text her tomorrow. And then like 5 business days later, I'm like, thank you for your patience. Let me
I say,
question.
yeah, I feel like I say, sorry for the delay a lot.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
said it to me once. They were like, don't apologize for like living and just thank them for their patience with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would say I would be apologetic about everything, like literally everything. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I respond, I caught myself. If I responded to an email like 24 to 48 hours later, which is appropriate, I would say, sorry for the delay. Who's delay? It's literally 24 hours later. Why am I apologizing? Like I'm just assuming that they're angry with me, or I'm just assuming that they are pissed that I didn't respond like 5 seconds later. Because when I first started working at Bamboo, I was like they email, I answer right away. They ask a question, I do the thing right away. And it's just not realistic anymore because there's so many more people and pings and bings. And I'm like, I can't answer you immediately. Like, even if I wanted to, but I set this like standard for all of our previous members. So I caught myself like earlier this year, late last year, sorry for the delay. Somebody's like, there wasn't a delay. Why are you apologizing?
Yeah.
And then I was like, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah. I think that like all, comes with being a woman too. Like we're just like, sorry, and I think I grew up like real, like we don't want to make other people uncomfortable. So like, what can we do? And so, as I've grown away from that and I don't know, had boundaries or had, not like self-worth. My husband and I might fight, but he's been like my greatest teacher in life. He's like Mr. Boundary, Mr. Self-worth. Like he's just a really great like human being. But yeah, so I try to tell my daughters that. Like, and then you have to get over your own stuff and then you want to teach your daughters how to be good. So I was just telling them I do side social media work. And so I went to film school. Like I was like, I want to be an actress. And then that turned into, no, I want to be a director. So I went to film school.
Where'd you go to film?
In Tampa. I went to the International Academy of Design and Technology in Tampa. Yeah.
Ooh.
It was fun. I had a lot of fun down there. And my parents moved down there. So I was going to go to Wayne State. And then my mom worked at Selfridge as a civilian air base. And then her unit transferred down to MacDill in Tampa. So I was 20 and she goes, you can either live here in our house here with like my older brother, or you can move to Florida. And I was like, I'm going to move to Florida. Like, cool. And what's funny, because again, like I was very anxious at that time in my life, but like my Sagittarius was like, we're going to Tampa. But I was like, the whole time with anxiety, but then like, I still did it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So I had a side social media client and I had like the client and then he had a director of marketing. And so I had to do a lot of stuff through that director. And he just, I don't know if he knew he talked to people like shit, but he did. And I'm not in corporate world anymore. And I'm not
Mm.
like an official employee of your company. So a few
Nope.
times I had to be like, you're not talking to me like that. And then he like, and like, I was afraid to do that. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
want to like start a
Yeah.
big thing, but I was like, I'm not getting talked to like that. You know, I let it go like once or twice. And finally I was like, that's not how you talk to me, you know? And then he immediately like called me, apologized. The owner called and apologized. So I picked
Good.
my kids up from school right after that happened. And I was like, girls, you tell people how you, and boy, you tell people, you let people know how you want to be treated. If someone's not
Yep.
treating you right,
Yep.
you tell them and don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're going to start a fight. And I'm like, a lot of times people, maybe they don't even know. I'm like, you know, I just had this instance and he called and apologized immediately, you know, like there was no fight, but I stuck up for myself. Always stick up for yourself. No one
Always.
else is going to do it, you know?
And that you said something kind of interesting about how they might not even know. And
Mhm.
so, and here's the thing that I see that happens a lot when somebody wants to set a boundary, they like have a conversation with that person in their head before it actually happens. And it goes to an extreme, like, you know, you end up fighting outside, you know, earrings off, nails off. Like that's how it ends up in your brain. You know, like
Right.
we're gonna like end up like fighting each other physically. In reality, like you're gonna say the thing and then they're gonna take it in or not, you know, and then they're gonna say something back because everybody's got too much to lose to actually like take you outside, you know.
Right. Yeah. No one wants to actually do that.
Nobody wants to do that. Like, you know, some people might, but like reality is if it's like in a corporate setting or a work setting or work environment, that's
Mhm.
not gonna happen. But it's like this story that we tell ourselves before we do the thing, if we think too much about it. But I get that way too. Like I am challenged with my boundaries. I'm actively working on being better with them. And the
Mm.
more I set them, the less I'm like, oh, like that wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that hard.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was a small moment, but such a big experience because I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, about it, you think about it, you relate it to all these other situations that have happened to you in the past. We didn't say anything, you know, but
Yeah, I think that guy had no clue. And I probably came off so aggressive because it was like building in me. So I was like,
sure. Ah,
enough, you know? And he was like, whoa, okay. Hold on. I'm
yeah,
going to grab a banana because other than that muffin, that's all I ate.
I love it. I love it. So,
Everyone laughs at me because bananas are like the easiest snack to grab, you know, and throw in your purse or whatever. So
yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh, is that your emotional support banana?" That's like the joke at GVST. Is
it
that?
is.
And I'm like, it is. Leave my banana alone.
I love like oranges are like the perfect snack pack because they're already pre-wrapped. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the bananas, like for me, because I'll chuck them in my bag, but they bruise. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I put the oranges in there, they're like resilient, you know? Like, so I'm
Mm.
like, I got like 4 bags of cuties sitting over there, and I'll just take like this many with me to work.
Maybe oranges will be my new snack because you're right. Banana. I actually bought a banana case before, but I don't even know where they went. I feel like the kids used them as phones, and now they're
Also,
gone.
like, my banana is actually shaped that way. Like, you know, it's like the rare occasion.
Right, and that was part of it too. Yes, exactly. That's so
Okay,
funny.
okay, so your mom worked at Selfridge?
Yeah, so she was a civilian at Selfridge forever. I think she started working there at 20, but she would bounce
Okay.
back because the Air Force is there, Coast Guard. I don't think the Army was there while she was there,
So
but she
my
kind of bounced back. Oh, go ahead. What?
mother-in-law was in the Air Force, and she
Mm,
worked at Selfridge, and my mother-in-law, my husband, lived on the Selfridge base for, like, his whole not his whole high school, but, like,
yeah,
middle school through high school, but then he was going back and forth from his
yeah.
dads who lived in Detroit, and then he ended up going to Wayne State, which I was just like, "Interesting. There's a lot of little interesting things happening here."
Yes. I love like I mean, like say a lot of things about I whatever about the military, but I feel like the military life, like I loved being on the base and it was like they had like the whole commissary and like anytime you'd walk by someone in the hallway, they'd be like, "Hello, ma'am," or "How are you, ma'am?" You know, and I'm like 16. Well, so I
Yeah,
worked there twice. I worked there
right.
when I was 15, 16 over the summer as a student. And then I worked
Mhm.
there again when I was 18. But yeah, like all the ma'ams or they have their hats, you know, that like it's like hilarious, like clockwork when they walk outside, they pop their hat out, put it on their head. Like, it's just like, there's a lot of cool, like,
Routine.
parts of that, like, rules and like whatever. And I loved it. I loved when we go out to
It's
Southbridge.
such a
And
beautiful area, and like, so funny enough, I could have run into my husband so many times because like his dad lived down the street from where my parents lived, and like we hung out at the same park, the one that my sister ran off to, and like
oh,
instances where we were so
yeah.
close to each other. So like when I was early middle school, I got in trouble. I was a very drug curious kid, and
Mm.
I was also very like I was always putting myself in like very risky situations. And I kind of
Mm.
mentioned at the Empower,
Yes.
but like at 11 and 12 years old, I was on drug and alcohol probation. I was going to AA and NA. So like
Yeah.
really like full blown, like I got charged with like full blown adult probation that most
Wow.
people
Yeah.
they're 18. So everybody that
Mm.
was like in all of these scenarios with me was like over 18, probably like had some kind of charge or that thing. So I was like constantly doing my volunteer service hours, like my required service hours. And then I started getting into volunteering. Like that's how I got into volunteering, oddly enough, was like community service that I
Isn't
had.
life funny? Life is so funny.
So funny in that way. But once I started volunteering, I started like doing more volunteer work. And then I got invited to do this like leadership program when I was in high school that was on the Alpena military base. So
Mm.
it's like further up. But it was like weekend long, 3 times a year I would go. And when I was there, like when I tell you I was ready to sign on the dotted line to join the Air Force, like so
Ooh.
many times. I was
Yeah.
like, because it's on the base. You get to go into the air, you get to go in the airplanes, they like show you all these movies, you do like drills in the morning, but then they do like this leadership education for you. And I had done it a bunch of times. And I was like, Mom, I'm joining the Air Force. And she was like, No, you're not.
Mm.
No. And she was like, they're brainwashing you. Okay. But it's just so interesting because he would go there all the time. And like, but I was very intrigued by that, like super structured schedule. You
Mm.
wake up at 5, you do this you do this at 5:30, you do this at 6. And I think that was like my Capricorn brain where I was like, well, like I'm super
Oh.
by this like routine that they're putting on me because I didn't have a routine for myself. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't have that, but they were running it like military camp. They were like, make the bed, put your clothes away, like everybody out by this time, it was like, but I was
And I think
very like,
that's so good. Yeah.
I was like,
My
how
dad was always like, you should join the Air Force Reserves. It's like extra money. But so the Sagittarius in me, like the Capricorn, I'm a Capricorn rising, likes
yeah,
that. And I think that saves me with business is having a Capricorn rising. Because
yeah.
Sagittarius is like, ooh, what's going on? But the Sagittarius is nice because I'm like, everything always works out.
Yep.
And so like the forever optimist. Thank you, Sagittarius. But yeah, I am like crazy about being trapped. Like I'm like to the point where that's like an anxiety. Like, do not trap me. I don't like elevators. And I feel like it's like half Sagittarius, maybe half past life stuff. I don't know.
Sure.
So, but so joining the military, I feel like sounds so nice, but I could never be like, this is where you live. And even, I don't even like when I worked. So before I was a stay-at-home mom, I worked at St. John. And sometimes I worked in a cubicle. I would feel like so trapped. I'd have to talk myself down and be like, if you needed to leave right now, you can leave. You are not trapped. My husband always says, you are never trapped. And I'm like, what if I get trapped in an elevator? And again, so he's this big 6'6" brick mason. He was like, I will come get you if I have to rip the bricks down, And I'm like, soon.
That's so funny. Okay, so I'm curious, like, how did you end up in the wellness space? How did that transpire?
So right out of high school, I grew up standard American, I grew up in East Point suburbs. And my parents weren't ever very churchy. Like we went sometimes when I was a kid. But so right out of high school, I worked at a chiropractor's office and they played The Secret on repeat in every room every day for like the 3 years I worked there.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, and like, he was more all natural. And I was like, oh, this is a cool life. And I loved him. He was like, I think I was like 18 and he was like 35. And he had like his wife was a little older. They started having kids when I worked there. So I'd even babysit, but I was like so close to this family. The girl I used to babysit just graduated high school last summer. So it was like crazy. Yeah. I was like, I babysat you and you were just 1 years old. She's like so beautiful.
Oh,
But anyway, so working there, I kind of was like, saw this alternative lifestyle, even chiropractic care.
sure.
Um, so then but the secret and manifesting and law of attraction, one of the other speaker, Jamie, I believe, talked about it. And I feel
Mhm.
like she was like speaking my language. I love that stuff. And it was really nice. We were just obviously at Empower last weekend. And one of the speakers talked about, law of attraction and feeling gratitude. And again, like, so this is something I've known for almost 20 years now. And
Yeah.
I use it all the time. But sometimes I get too busy in life to stop and be like, I'm so thankful for this. So it was
Mhm.
nice to be reminded of that with that speaker. And so, yeah. So I feel like wellness I like, but I like love that spirituality and that like alternative stuff. So I moved to Florida and then my roommate had a boyfriend. So she was never ever at our apartment and we didn't have TV. So I read all the time and I was like always reading like Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I was reading The Secret. I was reading whatever I can get my hands on. I was just like reading whatever. And yeah, I feel like things happen for a reason, or like I would try to be like, I'm very careful with my words and my thoughts. You'll never hear me say, well, I'll say it right now. You'll never hear me say, I don't have money for that. I don't feel
Mhm.
good. Like, I just don't say that stuff. Even if
Yeah.
I am like, you know,
Thinking
I mean,
it.
like I said, I'm like talking to Jim. I'll be like, I don't feel good. But like, if you ask me how I am, I'll always say at least good.
Yeah.
And yeah, even like the money stuff, you'll never hear like I'll be like, I don't want to do that right now, or now's not the time, but I'll never be like, I don't have
I don't
money
know.
for that. I just like don't talk
Yeah.
like that. So I try to be
'Cause
very careful with my words and my thoughts.
100%. Like words are spells, that you're
Yeah,
casting
right.
yourself. And like when did I find the secret? I remember feeling like I was having like a really aggressive anxiety attack, and I don't normally have anxiety attacks, so like the sensation was new to me, like the like heavy feeling in my chest and the like inability to like fully take a full breath. And I remember
Hmm.
going to my mom's room and feeling like I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me. She's like, just go lay down, drink some water, and like take a nap.
Hmm.
And I remember like going into my room, and this is like post abusive relationships. This is like me in my like dating myself era. And
Mm.
and then I remember just like turning the TV or like turning on my laptop and like Google, like I don't even remember what I looked up because I didn't know about manifestation at all. I was probably like early 20s. I didn't know about it. And somehow I searched the right enough words to like
Hmm.
pull it up. And I
Oh,
remember
nice.
like I don't even remember what I Google searched, but it wasn't manifestation because I didn't even know what that word was. And it wasn't law of attraction because I never heard of law of attraction before. So however it like popped up, I clicked it. It was free streaming, so I just sat there and watched it. And I remember like my whole body like calming down. And then after that, it was like manifest your face off. I was doing everything. I was like
Yes.
traffic lights, like parking spots. I wrote this huge list. I had it on my door before I like my door to my bedroom at the time. And I just remember like just checking things off, like boom, 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 one after the other.
Yes.
And now like I listen to Abraham Hicks all the time. Like
Hmm.
she was not in The Secret, but she was
Right.
originally in The Secret and then removed for whatever reason. But I went and saw her in Dallas, like live.
Oh, you did?
She's amazing. Like
Yeah.
you see, like in her YouTube videos, like if you watch her like rages and
Yeah.
rampages and stuff, it's exactly like that. Like just but in person. And then there's
The
just like
second one of her TikToks comes on, her voice like immediately makes me feel like, you know.
yeah, like she speaks to my soul. Like I'm like, okay, I like the way she talks. I like the way she delivers. I like the things that she says. I love like her humor. She's like very funny. And so
Yeah.
it was like when I went and saw her, I remember, so this was later in life. I'd already married Labrie. I was living in Texas and she was going to be in Dallas. So I was like, Dallas is 45 minutes away. I'm fucking going. And
Nice. Yeah.
I went by myself, and I want to go see her again for a couple reasons. Cause I feel like at the time I was like, I'm going to work for her. Like, I'm going to find, like that was like what I was going to do. And I remember feeling like a little lost. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I feel like the whole time I was giving this energy of like, I want something from her, which in reality, like I would have rather gone and being like, what is available to me? Different mindset, like what is available, what will transpire naturally without me being like, I'm going to do this thing. And then being upset that it didn't happen because that was not what I should have been there for. But even still, like it was interesting, like gut check. Cause I'm like, what am I asking for? Why am I asking for this? Why do I want this? Like, what am I trying to manifest with this request? And what happens when I don't get it? Because that's not what we're here for. She's not doing like a career fair, So it was just interesting to look at it, but like seeing her live it was very cool. But some of the things that I noticed, and maybe this was just because of the mindset that I was in, it seemed like everybody had their thing that they wanted from her, And maybe that was just because I wanted something from her. And it wasn't until like halfway through that I just like there was like a big break and I like went outside and started kicking a ball around. There was like a soccer ball out there. And I was like, oh yeah, this is why I'm here. I forgot. Like, I just need to be like present with this.
Yes.
Be like, gimme, cause that's not going to get us anywhere, but it was just
Isn't it funny? Like we know like what we want and what we need to do. And then we like forget it, like living everyday life. And so it's like constantly remembering or reminding yourself like, hey, be grateful today. Or when you're like having anxiety or whatever, hey, like take some deep breath, it's like you always have to remind yourself. And why do we forget, But I guess that's just being human being. Yeah.
Yeah. Like yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday I came back and one of our members and one of my really good friends, she was like, how is the Empower Conference? How do you feel? And I was like, I almost said I'm tired. And I've talked about this before, but I'm really actively working on not saying that because I don't actually feel tired, but I'm just like used to saying it. And she's like, girl, you don't have to do that with me. She's like, you can say if you're tired, say you're fucking tired. And I was like, but I'm not. Like,
right.
No, but I feel good right now. And like, why is that my knee-jerk reaction response to you? Because other people, and this is no shade to her at all, but other people, I'll be like, I'm doing great, depending on who it is. But with her, I go, I'm tired. And I'm like, I didn't even let myself finish it. And she's like, you don't have to do that for me. I was like, this is not for you. This is for me. Like,
yes,
this is for me right now. I was like, I don't act, when we had a moment. I had a moment in front of her because I was like, wait, I don't actually feel that way. And I don't want to feel that way. But if I'm like, you're the first person that sees me in the morning and this is my first response instead of I'm great. I had an awesome weekend. It was amazing. What are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
To myself.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, good for you for like recognizing that. But same, yeah. And that made me think of like not the same, but kind of the same. I have a sunspot. I can't tell right here. Nope. This side. I am getting a sunspot, and my mom's like really freckly and sunspotty. And this sunspot, I've been like, oh, like I hate that. Like I wonder if I can get something to put on that. And like I've never gotten Botox or anything like that. I mean, no shade, but not really for me. But like I'm like maybe I'll get something for this sunspot.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm like hating on my own skin. Like that's my body. And I was like, I can't believe I was doing it to myself. And I was like, I love you, sunspot. Like, thank you, skin, for like doing what you need to do, And I like could not believe for like a year. I was like, ugh, I hate that spot, And then I'm like, I'm so sorry, body, for hating on you.
But that's beautiful thing.
That's what you made me think of.
That takes so much self-awareness to like be aware of the thoughts that you're like feeding yourself. Like, okay, I have a really good example of this. I have like a year or two ago, like I bit the inside of my cheek really, really aggressively. And since then, I keep biting it. Like ever since then, I keep biting it. And
all right, hold on 1 second. James, do you need help? Okay, can you come ask for help instead of yelling? Here, let's plug it in. Ready? It's this one. Are you tired?
No, I'm not even tired.
Here, go. Oh, we'll plug it in the. You go in the office or in the lobby. You plug it in. No, I'm on the video in here.
Why?
And it'll take a minute to turn on, but it'll turn on. He goes, it'll never. He's tired.
Aw.
Okay, continue. You bit the inside of your cheek and then you kept biting it.
You're so good. But yeah, I kept biting it. And now there's like not a callus, but there's like a little bit of a bump in it. And I've
Yes.
been like hating on it. I'm like, what is that? Why do I keep, and putting all this negative energy? And then at one point I was like, oh my God, is it cancerous? Like I had this thought. And then I was like, wait, if I start thinking this, right?
Yes.
Then I'm like manifesting this experience into my life. And I went to the dentist recently and I asked them, and they were like, this thing could be cancerous if you don't get it removed. And he was like, it takes 5 minutes, schedule your appointment and get it removed. And I was like, did I dodge a bullet? But did I also bring that bullet into my life?
Right.
He's like, I see it all the time. We send people to go get this thing removed like 4 to 5 times a week. Like we're seeing this a lot. It's very common. People bite, they consistently bite on that like swollen space, and then it causes, whatever. But I didn't know about that, and so I'm over here thinking like, am I gonna have to take my whole cheek off? Like, what's gonna happen?
Oh my God, yeah.
But then I had to think like, oh my God, like I'm thinking this into existence, and just
It's so funny.
That moment of being like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's not what I meant. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And then, thank you for not being that. He's like, it's nothing. Like, just get it removed. If you don't get it removed, it could go down a path, but like, just get it removed. Right. So it
was like easy peasy. It wasn't even that big of a deal. Yeah.
No, but in my mind, I was like, oh my God. Like, same thing with the boundaries. This is like this huge big deal. It's craziness. Mm-hmm. Like, this is how it's going to turn out. And it's like, oh, wait. Oh, not that bad.
Right.
Not that bad. Oh, it's not that hard,
Oh my gosh. I think that makes me think of anxiety too, is like, you're like in this moment, like all hell is breaking loose and I'm going to die. And it's just like, you are completely fine, and like, you're physically, like, you have to remind yourself, it's like funny. I'm physically fine. If I need to leave, because that's like one of my anxieties, I can leave, like nothing's wrong here, and yeah. So I had horrible anxiety. I think that anxiety can be like definitely like a chemical imbalance, but I feel like it could be taught to you too. And I think that anxiety, a lot of my anxieties were taught to me by my parents of their like, don't do that, or watch out for this, or, and stuff like that. My dad would always be like, which I'm just generally hungry right now, but my dad would always be like, you need to eat, you have to have fuel, So like somehow in all that, I would be like, oh my God, I haven't eaten in 2 hours. Is my body just going to like shut down? But it was like taught to me. It was so weird. And like, it's funny in this like wellness, we find a lot of people who have food issues, like no matter what they are, a lot of people have food issues. So mine was, oh my gosh, I have to like eat every 2 hours or my body, like, I'm like, I always thought of the Tin Man. I was just going to like rust out.
Yeah.
So then again, my husband, my greatest teacher, is like, I am like 6'6", like 250, whatever. And I cannot eat all day. I can go all day and not eat. How does my body run, Pam? But I gradually had to like figure this out on my own. But it was just like, and it was just an example of like an anxiety that I feel like my, dad kind of like pushed on us, but maybe it was his own, I don't know where it came from, or, I feel like our parents' generation doesn't really talk about that stuff, but I mean, I don't know if yours does, but I mean, if you told my dad he has anxiety, he would be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah.
My mom is
But,
very she's not anti-mental health,
mm,
but like she will not get therapy. But I understand why, because like I feel like processing trauma, processing your inner wound
mm,
and healing is hard. And
hard.
you gotta live through it again. And you gotta
Hurts,
experience it. It hurts and it's painful. And you have to like reconcile with it and you have to face it. And like, so I understand why she doesn't want or think she needs therapy, because in her mind she's like, I did it. I got through all the things. I am living my best life. I'm married and my kids are all out and getting married and living their best lives.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy around me. What do I need to do? What do I need to like go through therapy for? You
Yeah.
know? But when I see it and when I think of myself and my experience and how I'm like relating to the rest of the world based on these traumas, like I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
do that anymore. You know, so I take it as a personal responsibility, but also like one of the coaches that I'm working with is like, why do you always want to do all this stuff for your mom? But for me,
Because you're the oldest girl.
that's part of it. But also I'm like, she gave me a life and an opportunity to like, I am so privileged because of the
Yes.
life she lived and what she was able to give me because of that. And it would be like not disrespectful, but I would be doing her a disservice if I didn't heal. You know, because
Yes.
I feel capable of healing. I have the funds to pay for professionals that can help me. And
Mhm.
like if I don't, not only am I doing myself a disservice, but I'm also looking at what she gave me. And this is just how I think about it. What she gave me, and I'm, you know, and so
Yeah.
like I need to heal for me, but I also get to heal because of what they gave me, you know, and so
Yes.
as a form of
Exactly.
for my parents and what they like sacrificed for me, and you know, but that's how I think about it. But even one of my coaches is like, we need to like talk through that, you know, but also like it's a big part of it. Like I feel very privileged and I
Yes.
know I'm very privileged and I want to use that as leverage to make myself better, to then make the world a better place, and then
Mhm.
gift that privilege and the opportunity to other people that maybe in some situations wouldn't have been exposed to it or been, you know, whatever the case may be. Like I take the life that she gave me as like a serious gift, and the life that my parents gave to me as a gift to me, and I take it very seriously. I don't take it lightly. Maybe it's the Capricorn in me, but I'm like, I owe it to them to be the best possible version of myself that I can be, and to myself,
Right.
mostly to myself. But
Yeah.
it's also like my sign of like, thank you for giving
Mhm.
me a life and creating the life that you did for me. And this is what I'm gonna do with it. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm a fucking sorry, but you
Yeah.
know,
No. Oh, no, it's okay. He
I'm
can't
like,
hear you over his whining
okay,
about whatever he's doing. No, I like that you said all that because I feel like this new thing and like, well, how old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay. So I'm 36, but I feel like in our I don't know, like as we're growing up, I feel like our generation has this thing where we're like, I don't owe our parents anything. Like there's like some sense of that. I don't know if you feel that,
A
but
little.
so you said a little bit. Um, and I don't know, like, so I have a very, very difficult father. And then my mom was always just kind of trying to make him less difficult
Mm,
and try to like make everything okay between us. Like we'd have huge blowouts. Like one time I had someone go, I bet you have such a wonderful, supportive dad, don't you? And I was like, I don't
that's a good
know.
question.
Right. And I was like, I actually have a really difficult father, is what I'll say in a nice way. And
Yeah,
so at this point, my sister, I have an older brother and a younger sister. So middle child,
but first,
black sheep, yep, first girl, yeah. So I always like butted heads with my dad, and I was always like, "You can't talk to us like that. You can't treat us like that." And then we'd like have huge screaming matches. But my dad always set the narrative because I was the one who went against him. Pam's crazy. Like Pam's my crazy kid. Like he'd always say that about me and stuff. So then my brother and sister would be like, she is crazy, because that was like the patriarch of our family saying that. So
Yep.
as time has gone by, finally my sister and brother have had, they've had their own work done, and
Yep.
they both apologized and been like, we're sorry that we called you crazy, and that wasn't right that dad did that, and that was like our family narrative against you because you were the only one who rose against dad. So
Yeah.
now, in a weird turn of events, my brother and sister don't even speak to my dad, and I'm the only one who does. And he's, again, extremely difficult. So I have boundaries. So if
Yeah.
they live in Florida, but when they come up here in the summer, if he starts acting up, I go, all right, dad, I'm leaving. Like, have a good day. Or
Yep.
dad, I'm going to get off the phone. But I feel like my brother is so angry that he like just hates my dad. And
Yeah.
I get,
They both went no contact.
yeah. So, and
Mm.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel, and I don't think that they need to talk to my dad, like whatever. But like,
Yeah.
he's still, I mean, he might have been emotionally or mentally abusive, but it's like, he was like, I can see why he was like that from his childhood. Like, I can put these things together and say, like, my dad is this way because of that. It doesn't mean he's right. And it doesn't mean I don't say, okay, dad, I'm going to let you go. But
Yeah.
it's like, he still made sure I was safe and like whatever, and loved me in his own way.
Mm.
And my dad's like never said he loves us because he's just not like that. And so
Yeah.
I was on the phone with him, and somehow that came up. And I go, my kids were like, Dad or Grandpa, you never told Mom you love her? And he's like, why would you say that in front of them? And I'm like,
That's the reality.
it's true, right? So I
Yeah.
felt like he was, but he felt bad because obviously that's something to feel ashamed of, never telling your kids you love them. But anyways,
But he's also a
so
product of his generation. I feel like
right. But I
I
can
think
take my dad how he is and like love him the best I can.
where
So
he is from
yes.
the distance that is comfortable for you. I feel
Yeah.
like growing up, I had a very similar relationship with my mom. We were constantly scream fighting and like
Mhm.
constantly screaming at each other. And like on my dad's side, my dad is very like reserved and like, he'll let my mom take the angry lead. She's usually bad cop, dad's good cop in the situations. And, I, as there was so many situations. There were so many situations. And I used to be really angry at her.
Mhm.
I feel like nothing was wrong. And
Mhm.
I just feel like so much in my life now that I'm healing and like working on it. And like, I have these like aha moments where I'm like doing something so simple as like sweeping the floor and being like, oh, wait, that's why she did that. And that's why she did it to us. And she wasn't doing it to us. She just doesn't know, just she doesn't
Mhm.
know any better, or that's how she was raised, if that's what she was taught. And,
Yeah.
like there's so many other layers to it because she's a survivor of
Yes.
trafficking and like because she was like brought from the Philippines and then like raised again, and then like and then her recovery from all of that and like, getting into a normal
It gave me
normal
chills. Like I can't even imagine.
I can't I don't even want to relive the shit that I went through, let alone
Yeah.
like would I want to do that,
Right.
for me, I'm like, okay, like, why was she so aggressive about XYZ? And like, there's just been so many aha moments for me. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, duh.
Yeah.
She was like, she went through this shit or she went through that shit. And that was her
Yeah.
own understanding of like how to clean or cook or like cleaning, cooking, like keeping up with the house. I was always like a very like heated, like explosive situation. And it like
Mm.
when I moved in with my husband who has a military mom who loves to clean and like cleaning is her safe space and she's like kind of a germaphobe, so like
Yeah.
she loves her cleaning days and blast music and all these people have this like beautiful experience of like cleaning on a Saturday morning with the music playing and the pancakes getting
Mhm.
made, and I'm like, I don't know that, like I've never experienced that. And so I remember him saying to me like, he's like, why is it always so much like we're just cleaning the house? And I was like, no, we're not. Like it's every corner, it's every nook and cranny, it's behind
Mm.
under everything. And I remember my mom was gonna come over and I was like, you guys need to like come over in an hour. Like I need 1 more hour. because I need to like finish cleaning. And she's like, you sound like me. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
like, what?
You got me. Yeah.
I was like, not you telling me. And she was like, you sound like me. She's like, I don't do that shit anymore. She's like, every time I used to have friends over, we would clean the whole house. She's like, you remember? I was like, yeah, I remember. I remember. I was there. We had to do that shit too. And it's just like she would say, she's like, I don't do that shit anymore. Like, I just leave the house the way it is. And they just come over the way it is now. She's like, you like, don't do that. And I was like, what? You know, it was like,
oh my gosh, yes.
they had to have it. Oh, it like now
Yeah.
I feel very, very proud because I do have my Sunday morning cleans with the music playing, the cartoons. I was like, oh, I can just like play a cartoon that I like. That's something that's like nostalgic. It makes me feel comfortable and like go into this easy. I don't have to like take out a toothbrush. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to do that. I could just like, do it and it could be enjoyable. But it's taken a long time for me to get there, you know. But I owe it to my mom to be like, I don't have to carry that on. Like,
good for you.
We can leave that over there, you know. But yeah, and like I know she wasn't doing it maliciously, even though it felt malicious growing up, you know. And so I give her the benefit of the doubt, but I have a sibling that does not really communicate with her. Not full no contact, but if he didn't have kids, probably, you know. So but we would always be fighting back, and he would not. So
So my brother, he's like the angriest of whatever against my dad, he never fought with my dad growing up. He always just was like, okay, you know. And so for him to be so angry, which he goes and sees a therapist, but I'm like, you know, that's a lot of anger for you to carry around. So I mean, that sounds
for so long, you know, if he's never spoken up, and now he's in his like 30s or something like that. Like
41.
That's a long time to carry a burden of feeling uncomfortable or angry or mad, you know, and it's like anything else that's like it just grows and grows and grows and grows. Like when you like how you said when you told that guy that he was talking to you badly, and every single time he talked to you badly, you got more angry, but you didn't say anything. So when you finally said something, you were like, boom, bitch, like, you know. Like,
true.
But and if it's his whole life, you know, and I always try to think of this too, like growing up, I thought we all had the same situation. And
isn't that hilarious?
As adults, I'm like, we are all very different. Me and my siblings, we are like starkly different, every single one of us. And like as like early 20 something, I'm like, what happened to them? You know? But now as a 30-something-year-old, I'm like, oh, we all had different versions of our parents. We all had a different life experience. We all saw something different and experienced something different. And our personalities brought something else out of our parents that is different from, you know, and the placement too is huge. But like, I was like, oh, they had a different life experience than me. Like, and my brother's anger is something that I didn't experience because I am not him. And like,
was it the oldest brother?
Yeah. So like, I did not have the same version of my parents that he did. He had parents that had never been parents before. He had parents that had never done this before. And then he had his parents taken away because they had now a second child and the third child and a fourth child. You know, it's like his life experience is so different than mine. And I remember feeling like, why are we so different? And now I'm like, I understand why we're different. And even though the same parents and lived in the same house, you know, doesn't mean we had the same life experience. All four of us, you know.
Yeah, even my kids. Like when my oldest was little, I worked at St. John full time. So my mother-in-law was with her Monday through Friday, you know, and watched her for us. So she had like a different childhood than my son, who I'm like dragging to meetings, and I'm like, meet this person and that person, and like, you know, he's like my little, he's getting a little, I don't know. I felt like he was a little less whiny when he was a little younger, but he's just getting older. And I think he's realizing he's the baby. And when he goes, when he goes, "Whoa," his sisters, like my middle daughter is always like, "What do you need? What do you need?" You know, and she's always like taking care of him, which is so sweet. But also, I'm like, he can find his own shoes, you know.
Yeah.
So,
They're
but
right
anyway, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, but
Where'd you put him?
My mom would say to me all the time, she was like, "This is why I had you kids so you can take care of each other." But like, as the oldest daughter, I was doing the cooking, I was doing the cleaning, I was doing the laundry and stuff like that. And so that comment felt like it was like actually for me. Like, this is why I
Yeah.
had you so you could take care of them, even though she was saying like this is why I had you guys so you could take care of each other. But like
Right.
my brothers weren't cleaning and my brothers weren't cooking. And then when
Mhm.
they did, it was like this blow up fight so that they could just like run off to their rooms or get sent to their rooms.
Yes.
But then I'm
Mhm.
left with the rest of the work. And my
Mhm.
sister's the baby. So like she would do stuff, but in reality, it was like, at least that was my experience. My experience
Yeah.
was
I
that
think
like,
that's just birth order because my oldest daughter, you know, will be like, so my mom gave them tablets for Christmas, which has been a huge like sore spot because it's tough, like video game and kids' life. So we give them tablet chores. Like you get home from school, it might be clean James' room, you know, make sure you sweet, like, but she's the oldest. So she's like gonna be more doing stuff and she'll be like, come on, guys. So it's just like an age like birth order thing. And I think it just like can't really be helped. I don't know.
yeah, I don't even know like how, and now it feels like that. Like I feel like I'm the one organizing and
Mhm.
I took a step back and I feel like my younger sister kind of stepped in that way for a little while, like when I moved
Yeah.
away to Texas and she kind of stepped in and she's like, I always feel like I have to wrangle everybody. And like, I would say some snarky shit like, well, now you know how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
and now I feel like we're like kind of like tag teaming it, which
Yeah.
because I would be like bitchy about it. I'd be like, okay, well, welcome to my life. Welcome to this, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't help
Right.
her. Does not making her
No.
life any easier. Actually, I'm making it worse for her. But I had moments too. Like I was like, dude, I was so mean to you. Like, and I'm so sorry. Like, and and I saw like some of the ways that my mom was talking to me and then me talking to my sister that way. And like,
Yes.
and like all of those things. And recently we had a long, long conversation about all of that and like
Aw.
all the crying, all
Yeah.
of the stories, all of the stuff, and like all the apologies and like just saying like I realized I took a lot of my anger out on you because we slept in the same room, like
Yeah.
and all of the things that I was hiding or holding in, she was getting the bad part of it, so like
Mm.
maybe my mom was babying her and she was the baby and the princess for my
Mhm.
mom, but I was doing everything my mom was doing to her,
Yeah.
so
So
like
that's interesting that you're saying that because my oldest daughter is so mean to the middle, like my second daughter. She is so mean to her. And
how
like you're gonna give her a complex. They're 2 years apart.
okay.
And so me and my younger sister is 5 years younger than me, and I don't ever remember being mean to her. I just always just loved her. She was always just like, oh, like she was baby Katie when we were little. And then as we got up, I remember one time I was so mad at her when I was in middle school. I called her a bitch, and then I felt bad for like a week. And I was like, I will never call someone else that again. I felt so bad. But no, even now, like my sister is my best friend. So I'll say to my oldest, and I'll say, me and Aunt Katie, like we're best friends. Like you could have a built-in best friend, but you're
Yeah.
so mean to her.
Yeah.
And then because she's mean with words, Middle, who's the jock, remember she was like, I'm the jock. She
Yeah.
comes back and she'll be like, she'll hit and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, words though don't equal hitting, like, oh
But
God. It's
one
rough.
because the other one started it or whatever. We would like me and my older brother would fist fight a lot. Like almost every single day after school, you'd be like pushing each other around. Like it was bad. And like as an adult, like I realized like a lot of my abusive boyfriends were a lot like my brother because everybody's
Oh,
like,
wow.
so sweet. He's so kind. Like, how did you end up in these abusive relationships? And I'm like, either they were like my mom or they were like my brother or a combination of both,
Mm.
but worse, you know? But I had to come to terms with that too. I was like, oh, like a lot of this like behavior I was very used to because we would like literally like be fist fighting in the kitchen every single day after school over some chicken nuggets. Like literally that was like, you know, and he was like 5'10". I've been 5'5.5" for a long time, you know, so like he's a big guy, you know. And so like, yeah, just like reflecting on that, but like we were close. We were 2 years apart too. So that's interesting. Because like it's just too close, I think. Me and my sister are 4 years apart. Now as adults, we're a lot better, you know. But we always had our moments of like adore and care for each other. But sometimes I felt like her little mama, you know, like I was like mom junior, you know, which I didn't ask for that position. I don't want to be in that position.
Right.
Felt, you know. So I don't know. I could go on and on about that.
Yeah.
Stuff. And we're over an hour. Wow.
Last thing I was going to say is, so we have astrology classes here, and you and I talked about astrology for a second, but bringing it back to the kids. So we just did a class called Family Astrology Mothers, where we looked at our mom's birth charts. Like my mom doesn't know the time she was born, so I could just see her moon and her sun, but then like ours, and like I had her do all my kids. And so I said to her, my daughters fight so much. Like, why is that? Or whatever. Like, what do you think? And so my oldest has an Aquarius moon, and then the middle has a Sagittarius moon, which, side note, I'm a Sagittarius sun. Middle has a Sagittarius rising and a Sagittarius moon. My husband's a Taurus sun. My son has a Taurus moon and a Taurus rising. And she goes, that's really common for like your kids to have. Yeah, isn't that cool? But my oldest doesn't have, my oldest and I are both Capricorn rising, but she doesn't have anything else. But I guess she goes, C-sections have really messed up like your rising time, because, you know, you're like, if you have a scheduled C-section, you're not born, you know, like it wasn't just whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
interesting.
Isn't it interesting? Oh my God. I've been like loving astrology.
Oh my gosh. I love astrology so much. And when I was pregnant, I remember like I immediately figured out what our baby was going to be based on like the due date they were supposed to have. And like, oh, we're going to have a Virgo baby. We got 2 Capricorns in the house with a Virgo baby. Like we're going to be so like happy and grounded and very like serious. So I was like, we need to take fun very seriously and like just being so into that. And now, oddly enough, I feel very called to like Virgo things. I'm just like very interested, very called to it. But I'm like, I should figure out what sign it was when we lost the baby. I'm wondering the impact, because maybe it was like end of February. So
one of the ladies at the mother's workshop, her husband passed away a few years ago. He actually passed away on mine and my husband's wedding anniversary. So I'm like, I'll think about you guys every year. And she's just the sweet woman. Like, she's amazing. She's at GVST all the time. I love her. So she goes, can you look up the day my husband died? And can you see anything on that day? So she like looked up the day, and like she knew the time he died and stuff. And the woman, her name's Jane Pierce. Her name's Jane Pierce. She's amazing. Oh my God, so amazing. And like you'll meet people in the spiritual world. And I don't know, like I love all the ladies around here, but Jane Pierce has this like engineering, like scientific background. So then when she's doing like more of the psychic stuff, it's just like, it like hits different. She's so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, she said that around full moons, more likely people like pass away or people are born during full moons, because full moons like shake up your signs, I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't know it fully, but whatever. She's something like this. So there was a full moon like 2 days before he passed. And like you could like see in his chart, everything was over here. And then I think like maybe 2 days before he passed, it almost looked like an arrow, like how his planets were aligned or whatever. And then he like, I don't know, when he passed, everything was all over here. Anyway, but she just said there was a full moon 2 days before. Maybe it like shook something up. And but she's like, you know, my experience, full moons like are like more likely to be around deaths and like births. Although like if you're like, you know, pregnant and you're like nearing, you know, you're nearing the due date or whatever, and there's a full moon, it'll like shake things up. So isn't that interesting? I'm like, I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up right after this and figure it out.
Oh my
'cause
gosh. Yeah, next Thursday we have Family Astrology Partners where you can pull your and your partner's birth chart. It's like a really great series. So she's doing one every other week. So next Thursday is Partners. 2 weeks after that is Group Dynamics, and then 2 weeks after that is something about harmony. But it's oh my god, they're so good. But she looked at my what'd you say?
This is all astrology based?
Yes, yeah. These are all astrology classes that we have here. So, excuse me. So she said that my daughter's Aquarius moon and my second daughter, her Sagittarius moon, like the Aquarius moon is someone who's very like, I want to know what's happening tomorrow. Like that's what I want to know. And then the Sagittarius moon was more like, God, no, I'm not gonna remember. It just wasn't the same. But she like described why they fight based on like their moods. This one thinks this way and this one thinks this way, or feels this way and one feels this way. And it was just like, I like love it so much.
I love that. That's the best. Oh my gosh. That's so okay. We're gonna have to come to a class. But before we go,
Yes.
if you have one last piece of advice, what would you give?
So I think that I like have running tabs in my head of stuff. Hold on. Okay, James, I'm almost done. I'll be done in like 2 minutes, okay? Did you hear him? No, you're no. Okay. We can't end without me having to talk to him in the morning.
Yeah, we need to have him come back.
Hey, do you think that's a good way to act or no? Okay, one final piece of advice. I think that some important, so like these are like my keys to life that I like keep in the back of my head. And like the biggest one that I could think of right now when you said that was flexibility, because we were talking about anxiety and like kind of the military lifestyle. Yeah, eat a snack. And he's right here behind me. So like with the military lifestyle or anxiety, I think that one of the keys to life. Sure. I think one of the keys to life is flexibility. Like, and that's with your plans, that's internally, that's with even like your body, you know, like stretching and doing that is just so good for you. Oh my goodness, boy. Here.
Oh.
There you go. And anyway, so my like jumbled up last advice is I think flexibility, like trying to stay flexible, even in like, I don't know, even in your like your thinking, like if someone says, someone has a different point of view, like I don't know, I just never take things like so hard or anything like that. I try to be extremely flexible, and I haven't always. So I've lived the life of not being flexible, and now this, and it's just so much easier to just be like, I don't, you know, maybe my day won't go that way, or my morning won't go that way, or this plan will fall apart. And I feel like being like, I can handle it no matter how it goes. That was me going like, ooh, I can handle it. Yeah, so I guess that's my last piece of advice is I think flexibility is one of the keys to life.
100%. I love it. It was beautiful. And where can everybody find you?
So you can find me at GVST Wellness on Instagram and Facebook, gvstwellness.com. And then I also have my Pam's Random Review Instagram, which I've been nominated for Best of Detroit Social Media Influencer 3 years in a row for Pam's Random Reviews. I always forget that because I'm always busy with GVST. Yeah. But I'm like, oh yeah, I should talk about that too. Yes. So that's really cool. I like posting more funny. I feel like Pam's Random Review and GVST is like my personality. You get the spiritual and the business and the wellness, and then you get like the funny and the family. And so, yeah.
Yay!
Well, I appreciate you. What a nice conversation.
So much. I'm so grateful for you. This has been absolutely beautiful. And we appreciate James too for bearing with us so early in the morning.
You hear that, James?
Yeah, we appreciate you, James. Thank you so much.
He went, I hear you. He's really a ray of sunshine.
I know. Every ray of sunshine sometimes need a cloud to pass. That's okay.
Yes. I'm so glad to know you. I love that I just like met you a few months ago, and now I like been around you a few times. You know?
It's so beautiful, and I'm excited for all this new stuff to come. Like, I'm really curious about this astrology. Speaking at GVST for Cordery Detroit recently, things just like so good. And like, she's building such a beautiful community of people as well. And just so grateful. And we appreciate
shout
all
out
of
to
you.
Coterie and Jessica York.
Exactly. All of you watching, thank you so much. Take this day to like remember why you're here and grateful and find your gratitude. And remember the law of attraction and eat a snack because we all need it. And don't charge your phone because we all need it. And we will see you next week on the Let's Glow Show with Amanda, the Creative Fairy Godmother, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you.